All right, welcome to the program The Desk on Global Television. Time for us to look at all the current affairs issues making the rounds across the globe, from the U.S. To different parts of the world, and no doubt Nigeria, as Nigeria grapples with the hunger strike and other issues making the rounds. My name is Anthony Momodi. Welcome to today's edition of the program The Desk. I'm not alone. I've been joined in the studio by an ace journalist in the person of Olugbenga George, who will be helping me look at all the big talking points we'll be looking at in today's edition of the program, The Desk. George, thank you for joining me in the studios.
Thank you for having me.
All right, I'll be looking at issues beginning from the United States of America. We'll be looking at the U.S. Elections, as United States Vice President Kamala Harris has chosen Minnesota Governor Tim Walz as her running mate in the November presidential election. Harris will face off against Republican ex-President Donald Trump. The 60-year-old Walz emerged as the dark horse contender and has now been picked over other high-profile names, especially Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro and Arizona Senator Mark Kelly, who dominated the early discussions over the last week. The Minnesota governor saw his profile rise considerably, especially after a viral interview in which he derided some Republicans as weird, a line of attack later adopted by the National Democrats. Many also saw Walz as a safer choice for Harris due to his liberal bona fides and the fact that some of other contenders had come under fire from a certain segment of the left. Shapiro received heavy scrutiny recently over his response to the pro-Palestinian protests that emerged in the wake of the Israel-Hamas war, over which both he and Kelly drew the anger of union leaders. Let's look at this. Must be a very interesting pick by Kamala Harris going for the Minnesota governor against or Shapiro was one of the front runners, and those that was a tip to be the chosen one. How do you think this is going to change the face of the whole campaign? Also, he's a veteran, like J.D. Vance, talking about the running mate of Donald Trump. Do you think that was a strategic one by the Democrats?
Well, I think it's a strategic move, especially because now more than ever before, the Democrats, need to make a it is necessary, for them to be strategic in their decision for who becomes the running mate to Kamala Harris. You are aware, of the reason why Biden had to step down. And if Biden had to step down, they had to be sure as well that the person who, will be taking that role, had to be somebody that is vibrant enough to face the American people. And that is what produced Kamala Harris in this respect. Now, with Kamala Harris already in the race, they also know how important it is for her running mate to be somebody who is not only popular, but who is cerebral and has the capacity and ability to be able to, win the minds of the American people. So yes, it's a strategic move, if you ask me, and it is going to aid it's going to ease the electioneering process, especially for the Democrats in the United States of America come November election.
Or just look at the fact both running mates having military background. Do you think that was another consideration? And how would this help? And also looking at Walz, he's a 60-year-old. Minnesota also a very strategic state in the elections, among one of the states you call the swing states.
Well, his emergence, according to what you read, is announced as a dark horse.
Least expected.
That means he's the least expected amongst the other persons, that have been paraded or have been hoping or looking forward, to getting that position. So it means that the Democrats, and especially Kamala Harris, has actually looked at that critically to know that, to be sure that, yes, this guy has what it takes, not only in terms of military background, because you spoke about military background, and I know that generally in America it's usually an advantage, and Trump never had that anyways, and you see what he's going through in his administration, but he's not the only person. Obama didn't have a military background as well, so it is usually not a prerequisite officially, but I think it's an added advantage to the race.
When looking at the age of a 60-year-old, do you think that was another key issue, the fact that they needed someone who's got the experience to help Kamala Harris, navigate the U.S. elections, knowing fully well that she's not so strong politically?
Well, I'm sure the Democrats in America will not agree with you that Kamala is not strong politically.
But the experience,
they will not agree with you because if you are going to go into a race, a presidential race, you are expected to bring your best candidate forward. And they have looked within their...
But did they really have a choice when we had Joe Biden already technically nominated or anointed her as the chosen one?
Well, it isn't a singular decision.
Yes,
I'm
but
sure
to an extent,
all the stakeholders within the party including former President Barack Obama, was a party to that decision. As a matter of fact, a lot of people were hoping that perhaps Mrs. Obama, talking about Michelle Obama, could actually emerge as the running mate. But of course, it is a democracy, and Joe Biden has the right to nominate someone, and he has nominated the person he feels is able to carry on with his ideology in governance.
Well, let's look at, before we leave the U.S. completely, let's look at the nature of this race now. Do you think is still to the advantage of the Democrats? Because first of all, the Republicans didn't see it coming that Joe Biden was going to step down, and the fact the support and the amount of huge $200 million was raised within a week or two after her announcement as the nominated candidate. How do you think this is going to further play out?
I think
the fact that they are now picking a dark horse who has relatively not tainted image, unlike Shapiro and others.
I think it's a very, very instructive move by the Democrats, and is a strong statement also for the left and for the right side to sit up. Trump would have thought that, oh, it's Biden, it's sleeping Joe. Now, Joe is no longer sleeping, he's no longer in the race. So obviously, Donald Trump has to go back and firm up his speeches and better than he used to do. And of course, arguing with a younger
Harris, a female,
yes, who has base sentiments in the society. Let's not forget that, whenever women are in leadership, there is this understanding globally where you want to give women their rights, to occupy office. You want to give women, the choice and all of that. So that is somewhere along the conversation. But
with that stand, because we saw
Hillary Clinton,
it didn't really favor her in that race.
It was a battle of strong people. Let's not forget that 2019 is different from 2020, I beg your pardon, is different from 2024. In the 2020 race, you had a lot more people within the space of the Democrats, if you remember. You had Hillary, you had Bernie Sanders, you had more people. In that race because there was no incumbent president.
So there was a level playing field.
But now it is by nomination because Kamala Harris had to be nominated by Biden. They didn't see that coming. So going forward in the race, for me, it is that I beg your pardon, Donald Trump right now, Donald Trump camp, that's the Republican camp now. We need to firm up their campaign message stronger. And I think the body language of President Trump since the attempt on his life has actually showed some sort of somber reflection. So maybe going forward, he may not be as brash as he used to be. Maybe we have seen him calm down a lot.
He did talk a little bit brash even after.
That's his nature. You can't take that out of his personality.
But now that he will be facing Kamala Harris, who has a lot of debt on him based on his past she being an attorney general in several states. Wouldn't that be an advantage for her?
Well, like we say, it's time to put their best feet forward for the both of them. I'm sure that Trump will also be sitting with his campaign managers right now to reel out the facts and figures about Kamala Harris that the world does not know. As a judge, in different states of the United States, we will also be, I'm sure a lot of things will be unearthed, during the course of this campaign, and it will actually influence the decision of American voters come November.
All right, let's move on to the next talking point. In case you just joined us, is the desk, and we're looking at global issues. Before we drive down to the national issues, let's take you to Israel, where Israel alleged that several United Nations refugee workers agents personnel took part in the assault on its territory, in which some 1,200 people were killed and another 250 were taken to Gaza as hostages. The UN has said that 9 staff working for its Palestine refugee agency Urua will be sacked for their involvement in the 7 October 2023 Hamas-led attacks against Israel. The development follows the conclusion of an investigation by the UN Office of Oversight Services launched earlier this year. We saw this coming, but with this assuade the hurt feelings of Israelis, just 9 staff to be sacked.
I think it's more of a rhetoric question. The answer is no. As a matter of fact, where Israel stands now, Israel have said, even if America refuses to follow us to carry on with this battle, we will fight for ourselves and we will defend ourselves, and they have said no going back. And you see the continuous attack going into the stronghold of Iran, to take out the Hamas leader. Is a strong statement for the entire world. And I guess that is one of the moves that is producing this current result we are having. Because look at it, it's almost 1 year, it's about 10 months into this race, October last year, and we did not have this fact. Because when it happened, these were the questions that were on ground normally. How did the Hamas, how did they get into this Israeli territory without any signs, without any warnings? So it has reflected on some of the germane questions that we have been asking. And you now look at the word, and the response that they have given to that attack so far. It has been a matter of Israel, don't retaliate, and it's been back and forth between these two nations, and different countries of the world are already pitting against themselves. And a lot of people are even saying, look, this is even drawing close to the Third World War because of the positioning. But I think these revelations will make everybody slow down a bit and, reanalyze the situation and look at the fact that it is not just, it is, first of all, it is an attack on the state of Israel, and the approach to, the strong stance and positions of many of the countries.
But do you think it took too long for this to happen? Probably if it had happened earlier, probably would have helped the cause of ending the war much earlier than now.
What really even matters in that region is a solution that will bring lasting peace. Of course, with over 70 years in battle, for that Gaza Strip, I think it is high time that everybody comes to the table and sit down and consider if it is a two-state, which of course Israel have said is a no-no for them. If this two-states solution is what will be tenable in this situation, then I think if it can be enforced, look at it. South Africa has taken Israel to court over the same issue. So how will South Africa redeem themselves right now?
Was South Africa playing to the gallery when they did that?
Of course, you know that every nation, especially in Africa, is actually dancing to the beat and the drums of their Western or Northern or external forces, basically. So in their diplomatic association, I don't know what part, South Africa belongs to, but taking the state of Israel to to court, you know, for humanitarian crisis. Anybody can do that, by the way, but it's a strong message and a reflection. And I hope that this revelation, especially since it is not yet confirmed, it is still a suspicion, upon its confirmation, you know, I hope that the United Nations will not just sack these 9 people or lay them off, that there is going to be enough punishment that will make Israel consider, you know, dropping the sword against their brother at this time around.
All right, let's come back to Nigeria at the national level. Let's let you know that as the nationwide protest against hunger and bad governance entered the 50th day, talking about President Bola Tinubu summoned the National Security Council meeting where issues of security threats to the country were discussed. The security meeting, which held at the President's office at the State House Abuja, also looked into the new trend of protesting hoisting the Russian flag in some states in the north. Our briefing State House correspondent at the end of the security meeting, the Chief of Defense Staff, talking about General Christopher Musa, described as a treasonable offense the hoisting of the Russian flags in the cities of Nigeria. The city had also ruled out any possible coup to remove the democratically elected government, saying that the military would not allow such an attempt to succeed. Yes, we saw it in Kano, Kaduna, Zamfara, Plateau states flags showing the Russian flags. For you, do you think Nigeria should, the government read too much into the hoisting of Russian flags? They didn't mean that much? Or do you think it was just a group of people playing to the gallery, not even understanding how much that meant hoisting the Russian flag in Nigeria meant?
Well, I would have loved to just assume that it's just ignorant Nigerians hoisting the flag of another country in a protest. You know, it means that there is a very big lacuna, you know, in our understanding of democracy and the understanding of being a sovereign state. You know what it means. It is a direct affront, you know, on the administration that is in power, and we must not forget that this administration is legally, you know, constituted. Yeah, people may have differences about how the election process emerged and all of that, but as we speak, the government is in power and they went through the ranks. And, you know, any case that is decided in Nigeria that has gone into the level of Supreme Court, the other party that is challenging has no other thing to do. Like my boss will say, he say, if you are not satisfied with the position of the Supreme Court, he said the next place you need to go is to God. So the only person, you know, that can actually vindicate you after the Supreme Court of Nigeria has pronounced something is God, you know. So, but speaking on earth here, it is done and it is done. So, speaking to that, I think it is very unpatriotic, you know, of the persons and the individuals who have been hoisting and brandishing the Russian flag.
They did not come out to say specifically the reason why they were hoisting it.
And that is the more reason why the administration can interpret it in any way that it does want to interpret it. Whether they were just doing it innocently to say, look, this issue have gone beyond us and we need the help of Russia, whatever. The administration, they have given the administration the opportunity to interpret it in the way that they want to interpret it. Because first of all, like you said, nobody came out to say, we need Russia. Nobody came out to say, we need help. Amongst the issues that are presented before the government, where end bad governance and end hunger is concerned, nobody spoke about inviting foreign mercenaries or inviting other nations to come and help us scale the issues on ground. And we also know that the issues on ground are issues of policy. We were here last week and we decried some of the issues, you know, that are biting hard on the Nigerian people. And all of us, when I say all of us, I mean every single Nigerian is a victim of the situation. So, but we should know where our limits end. We should know we shouldn't go beyond our wits' end. We shouldn't go beyond that. So I feel and I believe that it is going overboard with either because of lack of knowledge, lack of, or maybe they are also.
Falana has said this is would jeopardize the essence of the protest. Does this suggest that probably we had some external interference who probably sponsored this protest, so to say? The government has said it's a politically motivated protest.
At this point, when the entire protest started, I didn't want to believe that. I didn't want to, but I believe that it is one of government's normal allegation to justify itself.
And can we also say it might be an antics on the part of the government to have gotten some persons to...
No government will do that against itself. No government. Let's not even go there. It is no government. Obviously, it would be the work of some mischief makers or some opposition or political rivals who feel that what is the most extreme thing and the most obscene thing that can be achieved through this protest. And like, the chief, like Femi Falana said, I think I join my voice with him. The truth is that the essence of the protest is being lost when we have deviated, from the main cause. We are brandishing the flags of another country. What will that do to the hunger in Nigeria? How will that end bad governance? How will that end misappropriation of funds in Nigeria? How will that end lack of development in Nigeria? You ask all of these questions. And when you speak about all of that, I am looking at it. Already it has brought illegitimacy to the protest itself, and it has strengthened the government to use force.
But the government, on the flip side, kept saying it was when the president insisted that it was a politically motivated protest, even before the hoisting of flags. Wasn't that also a sense of denial by the government that truly Nigerians are going through hardship?
Well, in fact, I thought maybe we will have started from the president's speech yesterday. Yes. And, my opinion about that speech is that it is only...
Was he sincere?
It is only a scorecard. And, the scorecard, funnily, is not a scorecard that Nigerians can produce. So, normally, if you are going to present a scorecard, you shouldn't rate yourself. You allow the Nigerian people to rate you. And I think the rating is what we see in the protest. So it is totally against what the Nigerian people experience. So it means that the presidency and leadership needs to now go back within themselves and look at, these are the things that we are doing. But it is obvious that the people are not feeling the impact. How can we further drive the impact of these policies and programs so that the Nigerian people can benefit? I think that should be their focus right now. The issue of, and then it also raised, for me, it also raised certain concerns about our democracy. All right. So from this protest, we have seen many silent cries, that usually do not come to the fore. So you see the issues of ethnicity, playing out in this protest. And it's a very serious issue that is eating the root of this country.
Okay, let's move, because if we look at the states, Kaduna, Kano, Katsina, those are northern states where we saw this hoisting of these flags, and it looked like the northern region did take this protest more seriously. Are we not being unfair to the northern region when we say they are doing it because the president is from the west or a different part of the country? But I did not being sincere that there's hunger in the land.
We said it last week here, and I said the motivation behind this, for me, is the hunger in the land. Everybody, if I could protest, perhaps maybe if not for the fact that I had responsibilities to state, you get what I mean? Maybe I will have joined the protest too. But and I'm saying that yes, I side with the Nigerian people to protest for their rights. It is their democratic right to live a good life, and not watch their leaders languish in opulence while they look for for scraps to eat. That's the margin between leadership and followership in this country is too wide. And it is this responsibility of government. That's the expectation, by the way, of the Nigerian people to, bring this gap closer, to bridge this gap, to ensure that the people do not continue to feel disenfranchised from government. And when hunger, when inflation, when the ability to purchase, the purchasing power of the people have reduced to nothing. In fact, people have lost purchasing power. Nobody has the purchasing power for any product in Nigeria as we speak. Because when you begin to calculate it based on income, and you calculate it on the inflationary rate, you realize that everybody have lost it. How much do you earn for the working class? That's not going to the people who are unemployed, who have to earn their daily living.
So we can say the government is wrong when they try to bring ethnicity into the protest.
Well, I mentioned that. So it may not be exactly. Nigeria is a very polarized state. Let's agree on that.
Okay.
One. So initially,
would you say it was deliberate that the northern states seem to be the ones?
The truth is that
the protest really.
The truth is that we use ethnicity and religion as a tool. And the elite, don't let me say we, because I don't know about that. The elite in this country use these two strong positions, these two instruments, to have their way in politics. So it is okay, it is normal that every Nigerian wanted to protest. But in between the time that the protest was announced, some people have seen that this is an opportunity for us to actually express further, for us to expand this and begin to make demands. And it is the same way with every protest in this country. You go back to the popular NSAS protest, it was hijacked, obviously, and people felt that, okay, we can also push other agendas. So NSAS protest came, and it didn't have an end. As far as I'm concerned, it does not have an end yet, So the government is aware of all of that. And they would not want to continue to toe that line. But we cannot deny the fact that ethnic jingoists have also taken advantage of this situation, because how do you explain it? Where you have look at the wanton destruction in Bauchi, look at it in Kaduna, guns flaring everywhere, and all of that. And again, let's not also forget, this is my opinion now, where it comes to protesting, there is a body language between North and South. The North does not just protest. Let's agree on that.
Okay.
So once they agree to protest, you cannot determine how far it will go. You cannot determine the reaction of the people. And that's one of the things that we get to see. They are radical by their nature. So it could also be an expression of the radical nature of Northerners. When they are pushed to the wall, they don't usually know how to react, especially the masses. And let's not forget that this is not we're talking about. We have, in fact, it's like the ratio is like 95-5, where you have the wealthy, the elite against the masses. So it's mass populated. It's not like the West, where most people, have adequate education enough for them to know, and they are civilized enough to know that destruction of government property, is also destruction of our property. And that orientation and reorientation is what needs to be driven down across Nigeria, especially the North.
All right, let's still continue with the discourse. We've got one governor of the northern state talking about Bala Muhammad reacting to the president's speech, where Bauchi State Governor Bala Muhammad has expressed his disappointment over President Bola Tinubu's recent nationwide broadcast, stating that no consultation was made with the state governors prior to the address. According to him, the president's speech did not reflect the reality on ground, adding that there is a huge gap between the government and the governed in the country. The governor spoke while addressing journalists at the end of the Emergency Security Council meeting held at the government house in Bauchi. Is Bala Muhammad right in his views?
Well, I would have said he is right. I would have said that every other person, Adamawa governor also spoke. I would have said that they are right. If within their states, they have been able to deliver the benefits of democracy. You look across the country and you see the south region. And you look at it, the protest is not that vibrant there. Yes, I know in Port Harcourt there was a protest yesterday, but it did not go violent. And the governor actually came out to talk to the people. Again, I was discussing earlier with my boss this morning, and he said one of the issues is that some of these governors, where you have these attacks in the north, are proud. Because they undermined the potency of the protests. So it is not just a failure of the. Well, maybe we'll come back to the issue of whether President Tinubu's speech addressed the issues of the country. For me, no. He only came out to rule out his scorecard, like I said. He did not address the issues for which the Nigerian people were protesting. He did not talk.
Was that a show of disrespect for the Nigerian people?
When he told them that he wanted them to dialogue, maybe that is his own way of addressing it. But we have a traditional way of interpreting issues.
In the president's speech, there's a place he said he commended the security agencies for work well done and urging them to ensure no more loss of lives and property and ensure law and order. Do you think that was a license for the security agencies to say, okay, yes, we're doing a great job? When we did see security agencies shoot at protesters who were not armed, we saw a security
I actually expected that Mr. President would say that the people who the trigger happy police officers who are unleashed, will be punished, even though it is mere word of mouth. I expected that from the president's speech. But you see that the president just danced. I mean, it was a very, very vague message as far as I'm concerned. It isn't precise, It keeps going here and there, pandering backward without touching the main issue, which is the issue of the protest. Now,
so Bala Mohammed is right, the governor of Bauchi State.
Well, I'm coming back to that. So the president, pandered around, and he should have hit the nail on the head. This is the issue. This is why you are protesting, and this is what we are going to do to end hunger and bad governance in Nigeria, precisely, and not rule out all of those grammar that he did to the Nigerian. But coming to speak to the issue of Bala Mohammed, I also agree that the governors failed woefully. In fact, I agree personally, and I've said it before, that one of the reasons why we have these issues, having gotten to this point, is because the governors failed in their responsibilities. They failed woefully, not just failed. You ask me why. Everybody knows that subsidy was removed in May 2029. Everybody knows, that the government did not provide palliatives, even though it intended doing so. But instead of giving the people palliatives, which would have actually doused all of this tension, the president decided to redirect, the excess of
to the governors.
To the governors. So federal allocation increased. Significantly. There is no state that got nothing less than an extra 2 billion naira plus to their federal allocation. So if the governors actually were sincere people, they will have said, okay, this extra that is coming to us should be used to alleviate
the suffering. So no palliative for the state.
So the federal government did not provide palliative because they shifted the responsibility to states, and the state also did not perform. So everything became a hula badoo like we have right now. So where do you expect the positive was none? Because the state was supposed to be a cushioning effect, of federal government, and then I also hold the federal government responsible for not holding governors accountable, by the way, because these monies kept going on. If you had said, there is no way I will keep rolling out money like this, I will keep doling money out to states like this, and we still have these economic indices, and jobs are still not being provided for the people, and inflation keeps going up, and our production capacity keeps reducing. If all of these are being thoroughly looked at by the federal government, they would have been at the forefront, of tackling the governors However, we also must mention the issue of local government autonomy, which is what the president considered to be the solution, to that problem, by saying, okay, we know governors are overall masters in their own territory, so let's go and give power to the local government.
Not to cut you short, but when Bala Mohammed, the governor of Bauchi State, says the president didn't carry the state governors along before making that speech, wasn't he right that he should have spoken to the 36 governors? Yes, I see what's happening in your various states, and have a one-on-one so that he would know the right.
Protesters are not carrying the placards of the name of their governors on the placards they are carrying, right?
Yes.
The placards actually brandishes Tinubu's name, End Hunger. And in fact, I saw some very
disturbing
comment. I saw some images, having a coffin, I thought we had outgrown all of that. But people can express, we're in a democracy, people can express, their displeasure any way they wish to. But then, for me, I still do not agree with the state governors that the president needed to have consult them before addressing the nation. We spoke to the issues that the grave mistakes that the president made. First of all, that he did not come out in a timely manner to address the protesters. That is a very big mistake. I expected that on the day, on Thursday, when it was already planned, that the president will make a national broadcast and tell the people, I understand you want to go out, I do this, and he speaks to them like a father. Trust me, Nigerians are not that difficult. You and me know, Nigerians are not that difficult. It will have softened their hearts. And, all of the violence that we have right now will probably not have erupted. But that the president should have, first of all, sat all the governors down who have sat down for the past 14 months of President Tinubu's administration, collecting federal allocation, at inflated rates and bettering their own lives, but leaving the people to more penury. I don't think that he actually needs to have sat them down to say, this is what do I say? What do I tell the Nigerian people?
All right, let's move on to the next talking point. We are still #End Bad Governance. Kaduna police detained 38 suspects, tell off for waving and sewing Russian flags. The police command in Kaduna State says it has detained 39 suspected hoodlums, including the tailor producing the Russian flags during the End Bad Governance protest in the state. The command spokesperson Mansour Hassan confirmed the incident in a statement. He said these individuals were seen displaying the Russian and Chinese flags, mobilized and engaged in the vandalization of private and public properties. Aside this, we did hear, I spoke with some co-conveners of this protest, who hopefully will be talking to on the Global Morning Breakfast show, hopefully tomorrow. They talked about them being arrested by security agents, coming to their houses, arresting them at odd hours and all that. That's the right way to solve this issue, this, arrest.
The thing is, I spoke about this earlier today as well. Desperate moves and desperate times requires desperate measures. All right? Like I said, even though the federal governments have failed, one thing they still have, and they will continue to have, that they will not open their eyes and see happen, is that a hijack, happens on the government. So the issue of brandishing the flags of China, of Russia, is a strong statement. And like I said, they have given the presidency to interpret it any way that they want to, because there was no contact.
But are you surprised China, the Russian embassies in Nigeria have not come out to make a statement?
They have denied it. They have denounced it. The Russian embassy have denounced it, and they have nothing to do with that, And of course, we know perhaps they have nothing to do with it, really. It is just, like I said, ambitiousness and a threat. It has to be, like I have said this before, that it has to be that it must be some persons that are informed that actually instigated that. Some illiterates.
But is it not unfair for us to completely rule out the fact that we could have people still in government who knows that if they play that card, it's going to give this government an advantage and a reason to be able to use force, like you said.
Well, nothing is impossible.
Yeah, we're talking politics here.
Nothing is impossible, but let's not forget also that there have been threats and rumors, of military takeover. And it's a global trend right now. Different countries are experiencing their own, even outside Africa. So we thought it was an African thing before, and then it has happened outside Africa now. So everybody knows that, look, we need to sit up. Democracy has not actually found its footing like we thought it has. I was also telling someone, I said, there are also countries, in the East where it is, Afghanistan, for example, now is ruled by a terrorist organization. That's the government, and there's nothing the world can do about it. So it tells us that there's still a whole lot to do where the entrenchment of democracy is concerned. But the chances, that the government could sponsor people against itself in this regard, they are very slim. And if it ever happened, that's the far-reaching strategy. That is totally...
nothing is impossible.
Well, nothing is impossible.
All right, as we look at the last lap of the End Bad Governance, we're looking at the NHRC, that's talking about the National Human Rights Commission, who have condemned the use of force against protesters as the hashtag End Bad Governance in Nigeria protest enters day 5. The Executive Secretary of the National Human Rights Commission, in the person of Dr. Tony Ojukwu, has again condemned the continuous violation of the rights of peaceful protest and assembly, freedom of expression, and the press and other associated rights by law enforcement agencies. Ojukwu, who is a senior advocate of Nigeria, insisted that the recent dispersal of protesters and journalists using excessive force resulting in injuries of several persons was unacceptable and a clear infringement of the fundamental human right. I did experience that also at the Federal Secretariat, where the police openly shot at protesters who were not armed, even tear gases shooting directly, and they just shot from 4 different angles. So it was with an intent to injure the protesters and not just to disperse them. This was what I witnessed in person. So for the National Human Rights Commission to come out strongly to say this, even being an arm of the government, what does that tell us?
Well, the truth of the matter is that our policing system in Nigeria is one that seem to be lacking in the understanding of a democratic administration. I think maybe the Nigerian police have only learned from how the army used to, many of them were alive. Maybe they witnessed or they saw it in the trainings, how the army used to behave, when they were in power, and they feel that this is our own time, so let's also do the same. Because outside that, I don't know why a security officer who swore an oath, to protect Nigerians, to protect the integrity of Nigeria and the lives of Nigerians, will the same person open fire, on innocent protesters? It is a low blow, on security force in Nigeria. It is very, very... It goes to speak to who even trained them. What's the training process? I think it was Professor Wole Soyinka that spoke to that. It's actually time for us to actually begin to look at the training process, the training exercise, and the curriculum for our police officers in Nigeria.
Because recently we had the squabble between the Police Service Commission and the Nigerian Police Force, saying that the 10,000 constables recruited by the PSC were not genuine. So does that give us an inkling into the kind of force we are, having?
Everything about Nigeria is politics, and that's the sad part of it. We have lost the essence of politics, which is good governance. We have lost it completely. And that is why every aspect of our economy, of our society, is on the brink, at the moment, if something urgent is not done. So the politics that plays out, in the corridor of the National Assembly and amongst the appointees and, political parties is also played out within our institutions. The police institution is a strong institution that ought to be independent. And what all of this comes to reflect at the end of the day is the fact that our institutions are not strong. We need to
really have strong men.
We have strong men who are stronger than the institutions they represent. And that is the fall of this democracy. If we are going to move forward as a country, like I was saying before, we need to start building strong institutions. And building these strong institutions comes to the training, the conscientization, and the recruitment process of each. If you are going to be bearing arms, that's the state empowering you so much, so well, and the state has to be sure that you that is being empowered with these arms,
your mental health,
that you are mentally all right. So a lot of people used to talk about the welfare of the police force and all of that, which is very important.
Yeah.
But for me, beyond that welfare, there are some jobs, like the job of journalism, for example, is a job of passion. It's a job where you are sold out, to promote and protect your society. So that is what will make you hold on to the tenets of that profession: truth, justice, fairness, objectivity. So you are looking at it as a journalist. The police should also have those things and strengthen them as a basic training, so that we will not begin to even talk about, when you are holding the gun, you are holding it with reverence. You are holding it as this is a privilege, and this is not a tool, for you to oppress. But what we've had is that the guns in the hands of our security officers has been a tool for oppression instead of a tool for protection. And we must, as a matter of urgency, move as a nation to correct that by reconscientizing and properly training our security agencies to protect the people and not harm them.
Well said there. Let's move on to the next talking point. We've got a few minutes to call it a wrap on today's edition of the program, The Desk. All right, let's go and talk about the Dangote refinery up talking point. As former President Olusegun Obasanjo has expressed concerns that those currently profiting from Nigeria's fuel importation sector may seek to undermine the Dangote petroleum refinery. This statement follows the allegations by Alhaji Aliko Dangote, the president of the Dangote Group, who has accused certain mafias of attempting to sabotage his $20 billion refinery project. The refinery has not started buying crude oil in Naira yet, even though President Bola Tinubu has instructed the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited to do so. When Obasanjo speaks, you must know it's weighty, and it's coming from an area of, experience, facts and figures, and he's sure of what he's saying. Does this collaborate with what Dangote has said? And the fact that the president had given an order, it's still yet to be followed. How sad is that?
Well, it's pretty sad. It's pretty sad that, the Nigerian state itself, is self-sabotaging. Because that's the only English that I can use. We have system self-sabotaging. So we want growth, but what we continue to have is reverse growth. It's the reverse of growth. Because if people personalize state apparatus, something that is supposed to deliver benefit to the over 200 million Nigerians that we have, then it has become a serious issue. So in this respect, I see it as a very...
Can we still hold the president responsible? He's the Minister of Petroleum, and he gave an order, and the order not being respected. Do you think that order was real?
I think,
or was it just for
I
the
didn't
camera?
go here directly because for us to talk about this, then we have to talk about what happened before. That is Farouk coming to say that...
Ahmed Farouk. Yeah.
Ahmed Farouk coming to say that...
the product was sulfur, yes, the high content of sulfur.
Yes, first of all, and that Dangote, if he was given the license alone, is going to lead to monopoly. So these are issues that a lot of people have spoken about. But I looked at it, as an objective Nigerian, and I went back in time, and I realized that the Dangote refinery The Dangote brand himself has been known for providing jobs, has been known for revitalizing the Nigerian industrial sector. So you look at what he has done as an individual, over time. And I thought, that it would have only been right for government, to give him the necessary support that he needs, regardless of politics or personal interest in these matters.
Do you think the government is sincere in wanting to support him on that, just paying lip service, especially the president? Because we remember when he had to do with the national anthem, he practically pushed the lawmakers to get it passed in 2 days. Why can't he do this?
And finally, autonomy as well.
And finally, the House of Rep is deciding to dissolve the committee that was set up to probe this allegation. It's something fishy. In 1 minute, please. In 1 minute.
Well, I think what should matter is that leadership has the right to make the right decisions for the Nigerian people. While the dialogue for protest and the return of subsidy and all of that is ongoing, I think the government should also focus on revamping our refineries. All right, and that should be the thing. So we have 4 refineries that can produce for local consumption, so that first of all there is competition between the Dangote refinery, even if finally they obey the president's order and begin to supply him in naira, and is able to sell back to us in naira, and then he has the Nigerian refineries to also contend with, and then the price can be broken.
Thank you very much. That's how we're going to call it a wrap on today's edition of the program, The Desk on Global Television. Big thank you to Olugbenga George, an ASA journalist right here in the Federal Capital Territory, helping me look at all the big stories from the U.S. elections, where Kamala Harris has chosen the Minnesota governor as Tim Walz as her running mate, and other issues making the rounds in Nigeria as regards the president's speech and other issues concerning the hunger protests in Nigeria. My name is Anthony Momodu, saying thank you for joining me on The Desk. Good evening.